The Washington Post announcement yesterday has been the topic of an enormous amount of conversations online. They decimated the reporting team. They did away with basically the sports section, much less overseas coverage, much less metro coverage, did away with the book section. Many newspapers have done worse than this in terms of actually shutting down. But lots of people are asking why one of the richest people in the world can't fund serious journalism, and a lot of news professionals, people at Axios and Semaphore are saying, "Hey, we know how to run the Washington Post," and they're going online and saying, "Here's what they need to do. Here's how you can build it back up."
Because a lot of those guys are former Washington
Post. Yeah, they are. So.
I had a 10-point plan out this morning or last night.
He did. All right, so we could talk about this for 2 hours. Two-part question, violating my two-part question rule, Larry. Number one, how serious a blow is this to journalism writ large? And number two, what will the Washington Post look like in 2 years?
It's not a serious blow to journalism because this is the reality most of us have been living with. When I saw the number of people who got laid off and the jobs they had and the beats they covered and the output that came on their bylines, I'm the editor of Town Hall. If I had writers who were that sort of lackadaisical in their output, they would not last. That's the real world of journalism right now. That's the world we're living in right now. What will the Washington Post? The Washington Post is going to ironically look a lot like Politico, but probably not as good.
Covering Washington and politics.
Yeah,
and
that's it. That's
policy.
all it'll be. That's all it'll be.
Kevin?
So many of those cuts were, sports and international to Larry's point. I wonder, Larry, now as the editor of Town Hall, I mean, what do people still don't understand about now the new business model for media, right? And I think that they've fallen into this trap too, that it's these legacy publications that just haven't figured out how to, like Town Hall has, where people's and eyeballs are going.
Well, and the hubris to say that because Jeff Bezos is rich, he has an obligation to support this losing venture for people's own sort of narcissistic edification. Yeah, it's the way people become rich is that they don't keep throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, I don't like anyone to lose their jobs. I think the Washington Post is one of the few big institutions in the country, I've talked about this before, that can actually hold powerful interests accountable. But when I read these reporters saying, oh, it's not their fault, it is their fault. They've been told for a while, be in the game about how to make money for the company you work at. That's what everybody at Two-Way does. We think about a business model, even if we're journalists. I'm a journalist, but I think about the business model every day. And these people, would it be great if Jeff would just continue to fund the version of the Washington Post they want? Sure, but he's not. So get in the game and think about how to make a product that people want.
And Mark, if I may just button up on that, you transitioned from the Wes Moore story to this.
I did.
And it was a brilliant thing.
On purpose.
Because why didn't the Washington Post do this coverage of Wes Moore? Why did it take the upstart, internet-only, right-of-center Washington Free Beacon? Yeah. When you answer that question, you understand what's wrong with the Washington Post.
Some of the
there's also, Larry, I think there's also, I mean, in Town Hall is a great people, you've got folks that are hungry, right? To break this news and to get this out there and stuff like that. And I think there's also a complacency factor too.
Free Beacon is across the street from the Town Hall offices, and we're sort of like, damn it, how did they get this instead of us? And it was a pretty easy story to find.
And some of the people who are criticizing the Post for doing this are blaming the decision that the owner made to not endorse Kamala Harris and saying
that's ridiculous.
That we lost all our liberal readers. Well, if you're going to try to publish the Washington Post just for liberals and have the expense you have, it's not going to work. You have to, if you're going to be at that scale like CBS News, you have to appeal to everyone, or at least try. And the guild and the individual journalists, ones who were fired and ones who weren't, have to be realistic about what it means, why they're losing so much money. And when the publisher says people aren't buying your stuff, they're not reading your stuff, they're not enjoying your stuff, that's the reality. Jeff would love to have a sports section. Of course he would, but they can't make money off of it.
I wanted to talk about the Washington Post with you guys real quick.
Yes, sir.
A lot of interesting things said here. One thing I would say, and maybe people might laugh at this, is Washington Post actually does a tremendous amount of great content.
Yeah.
And currently they've been doing, but I feel like it's become a situation where the tail has wagged the dog for too long. And I think that might be, what Bezos's strategy is here behind these layoffs, that they're trying to just purge the people who were doing this stuff. I mean, stuff like, if you guys remember, it's been about 6 years now, but the Covington story, the way they covered that, and that ultimately cost them, I don't know, I think it was like 250 million.
Yeah.
They settled that lawsuit, by the way.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the people who are laid off are left wing. They just are. If you spray a water gun in the Washington Post newsroom, you're going to hit a lot of liberals. I don't know that that's why they were left off, but
it's kind of hard to lay off people at the Washington Post and not lay off liberals.
Yes, that's my point. But a lot of them have a history of writing stories that if the paper wants to be seen as fair and not biased, they did themselves a favor in that respect.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.